Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Thomas Jefferson said, if you want something that you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. Benjamin Franklin said, without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning. You've got to move forward, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to do those things that make your life better, and you can help people along the way. I was looking through the news, as I want to do, and I came across the fact that currently there are troops inside of Niger, even though the government doesn't want them to be there. Now, the silliness of this is that the Biden administration, whoever in the world is pulling the strings there, is saying that, oh, we'll leave, but we need a formal request to leave. The government's already said, the people have already said, leave. Now, you're wondering, why in the world are we having problems in Niger? Now, this is Niger, not Nigeria. Niger is a landlocked country that is actually to the north of Nigeria. It was a fairly stable country, and then they had a coup because, well, the military was starting to lose power, and in an African country or any other unstable country in the world, doesn't matter if it's Africa, doesn't matter if it's Asia, wherever it is, most of these countries that are not built on stability have this problem. Well, there's several things going on here. The first thing to realize, yes, there is some oil, but the oil is by no means an important part of this story. They've just discovered that they've got oil, but oil, like I said, is not the important thing. Their primary export out of Niger is uranium. Think about that for a second. Uranium, one of the more dangerous substances that you can pull from the earth, powers nuclear weapons, nuclear power plants, these kinds of places. This is what this country is known for. They also export gold, onion, beans, and meat. Okay, I doubt very seriously the U.S. would still be in that country if it was for gold, onions, beans, or meat. I just don't think so. I mean, but uranium is, well, I shouldn't have to tell you. If you're listening to me, you probably got more than two brain cells rubbing together. And there's more to it. Let me read to you from the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. This is going to give you a little bit more insight as to what's going on in Niger. Okay, so in March, U.S. Secretary of State, March of last year, not this year. So March of 2023, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken visited the country. First time that U.S. diplomats ever gone there. Niger is the largest recipient of State Department military assistance in West Africa and second largest in sub-Saharan Africa. Think about that. But while the country was stable, this was one of the biggest places that we sent military aid. And it was supposedly to help their military and security forces, help them fight terrorism and transnational crime. Basically, we were there to secure their borders. Let me reiterate that. We were there to secure their borders. Following the July 26 events in the United States suspended certain aid programs to Niger, including fund for international military education and training and programs that support Niger's counterterrorism capabilities. Now, that talked about July 26th. Let me tell you what happened. Wednesday, July 26, 2023, mutinous soldiers detained President Mohammed Bazoum at his official residence in the capital, Naomi. Okay, my redneck self pronouncing words. Yeah. They announced they seized power in a coup because West African country's deteriorating security situation. In a statement broadcast on national television, Colonel Major Amadou Abdramain, I'm butchering this man's name. The defense and security forces have decided to put an end to the regime you're familiar with. This follows a continuous deterioration of the security situation, the bad social and economic management. The coup leaders announced the country's borders were closed. Okay, so following that, so General Abdurrahman Omar Checheni, he became the head of the new military government. Supporters of the coup ransacked and set fire to headquarters of the governing party. Wagner Group, the Vladimir Putin's on again, off again love interest, said they supported the coup. Bazoum defiantly declared democracy would prevail in the country. European Union cut off financial support, while African Union called coup leaders to return to their barracks. French foreign ministries suspended all development aid, so they quit sending 120 million euros, 130 million dollars, American dollars, in there. Basically, everybody got annoyed with them and stopped sending them money. By August 1st, they reopened its land and air borders with several of its neighbors: Algeria, Burkina Faso, Mali, Libya, and Chad. So let's see here. There were a couple other things. It wasn't until August the 2nd that the U.S. evacuated all their non-emergency government personnel. August 3rd, there was a mass rally in the capital. They were brandishing giant Russian flags. Let's see here. The dude in charge of the military there announced a revocation of 5 military cooperation agreements with France. Also suspended broadcasts from the French state-funded international news networks. Blinken paused certain financial assistance programs on the 4th. And the 5th, they asked for help from the Wagner Group. And by the 6th, they closed the closed American airspace. They closed the Niger airspace. So, August the 7th, we sent in a Deputy Secretary of State by the name of Victoria Newland, said she held frank and difficult talks with the military leaders. Yeah, I'm pretty certain she was blustering and they were going, yeah, we don't like you. Basically was what that one was. Let's see here. They, French freed some captured terrorists and breaching the ban on the country's airspace. Basically, since July of last year, it's been a basically garbage show. And let's see here. What? let me give you a little bit more. Okay, in recent years, Niger has become the most important U.S. military hub. This is coming from Carnegie again. In West Africa, the United States has 1,100 troops in the country, as well as critical reconnaissance air assets. The country's discrete military bases, which are found in almost every region of the world, including several in Niger, are one of the most effective ways for the United States to project power and maintain its status as a military superpower in the face of China and Russia. Northern Niger is a strategic location in surveillance of Libya and the entire Sahel-Saharan region and beyond. So we've been doing this since January 2013. CIA also operates a drone base in the country. That was revealed in 2018, so it's been there a little bit longer. And since all this, U.S. military has about 650 troops and another several hundred support personnel still in Niger. And okay, so woman's name is Celeste Wallander. She's an Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Security Affairs, told the House Armed Services Committee that so far Niger's ruling military council, known as the CNSP, has not formally asked the U.S. military to leave. They've already said they don't want us there. Wallander said that CNSP has said the Status of Forces Agreement, which sets the terms of a U.S. military presence in the country, is now null and void. So if our Status of Forces Agreement is null and void, shouldn't we be pulling our troops out? However, she said the junta has assured them that American military forces are protected and they will take no action that will endanger them. Okay. That all being said, one of the major bases that there are U.S. troops at, Niger, who invited the Wagner Group, this Russian Merc group, they've put them on the same base as the U.S. military personnel. And we've got this situation in this country in which we've got U.S. troops in an unstable place. They're not wanted, but, they've said that they're not going to do anything to them. But they've appointed the base where the U.S. troops are at to be also the same place that they set Russian mercenaries at. And I'm sure the Russian mercenaries don't exactly like us. And I'm not saying that these 1,100 troops can't handle themselves. But my question is, you've got a CIA base that they know about there. You've got drone facilities and whatnot there. Are we going to stay there? Or are we going to leave and let the situation stabilize? I mean, I understand the counterterrorism stuff, but here's the problem with that. We continuously say that things are for counterterrorism. We keep saying that. And this is on the opposite side of the continent from Somalia, where some of the worst terrorists are at. This is a country that now is being ran by a group that, well, we all know what a military dictatorship is. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Are we staying in there because we think that we can stabilize the situation for our uranium purchases? We've got a presidential administration being ran by people who aren't the president, because, seriously, don't try to sit there and argue with me that Biden's got enough brain cells operating at the same time to be able to handle real crisis situations. He can't. So somebody else is running that government right now. And you can't tell me that Kamala Harris understands what's going on. She's too busy trying to get the chance to be the next president by going on Drew Barrymore, which I'm kind of sad about, uh, and getting called Mamala Harris. I don't know what that's just some stupidity right there. I guess because Barrymore had some issues that this is her way of getting popular again. I don't know. But we don't need to stay in places that we're not welcome. I mean, it's silly that we keep doing this, no matter who's president. Here's the problem. We put our troops into so many countries that none of this is stable to begin with in this world. On top of the fact of that we're inviting ourselves to get in the middle of conflicts that could lead to bad repercussions. Are there other countries that we can probably settle in for whatever it is that we're doing? Probably. Do we need to be doing all of these things then that we're doing? No, we don't need to be doing these things. I mean, it's idiotic that we're protecting the borders of all these other countries, but we won't protect our own. We've got all of this going on. So tell me, is it worth the possibility of us? Okay, I'm not worried about the Wagner group. I'm worried about the what could happen if we've got these troops there in a not stable situation. I mean, you've got terrorism going on there. You've got uranium. This is a major issue. I don't care what you. I know oil is the big thing that everybody talks about, but uranium's a big deal. We hardly ever talk about it. Uranium's a big deal. So this country's destabilized to the point where they've got the military in charge instead of the civilians. And this country wants us out. Now, thankfully, right now, we haven't pissed them off to the point that they're attacking us. But they brought in mercenaries, and Wagner Group doesn't operate without the say-so of Putin. You know this. I know this. So, what exactly are we going to be doing here? What's the end goal? I mean, because they ain't putting Bazoum back in charge. They ain't going to be having free elections anytime soon. Because once the military gets in charge over there, it takes forever to get them out. The economic situation there ain't good. The only way to keep that country stable is to work with whoever's in charge, which will be different tomorrow, more than likely. I'm not meaning actually tomorrow, but it's going to be different sometime down the road. There we go. That sounds better, I guess. And then you've got the simple fact of that we don't know if Biden or Trump's going to be president come January of next year, which makes our our foreign government or our foreign interactions be unstable. I mean, we've got the makings of a good little war in a landlocked country. I mean, it's not like Biden's not known for pulling out surreptitiously. My redneck speaking ain't working too well tonight. But it ain't like he isn't known for pulling out of countries when he should be doing it a little bit better, or whoever the heck is in charge in that government. So, could these troops become fodder for something stupid? For that matter, could they become the come out of there alive, but start a conflict with yet another country that we don't need to be in the conflict with? We don't have a clear path in this country. And it's Africa. It's a landlocked country in Africa. And it's already known for the Muslim terrorist groups that run around there. It's not like that this is a place that you want to be buying uranium from. No matter what the environmental groups in this country say, it is better for us to mine our own. We got plenty of uranium under our soil to take care of our needs for a while. We ain't even mining everywhere that we could mine. We closed down the Uranium One mine that was owned by the Russians and then bought by an American company. We closed that down. So we're buying uranium from a country, and France is buying uranium from a country that you can guarantee that what they're doing there actually is a threat to the local environment. They're probably causing problems where some of these folks are probably going to glow in the dark, if they're not already glowing in the dark, or getting cancer at a higher rate. I mean, at least they've got onions and beans and meat to export. Well, gold as well. But U.S. troops, this is what we were warned about by our founding fathers. This is one of them foreign entanglements which make no sense whatsoever. We shouldn't be getting involved. Why are we monitoring Libya to begin with? The only reason that country is unstable is because the Obama administration, with Hillary Clinton leading the way, destabilized that country. That's the only reason why we got problems in Libya. Muammar Gaddafi had stopped his stupidity, and he was leaving things alone, and we go in there and destabilize a country that was pretty stable. Not even by African standards, by the world standards. Ooh, Muammar Gaddafi was still in charge. Yeah, and he was keeping the slave trade from happening in his country. The people of his country were being able to go to bed at night with a full belly and not be bothered by things. Some weren't, but for the most part, that's what was going on in Libya. And then Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama decided, oh, we want to look like we're big and bad. And so they destabilized a country that didn't need to be destabilized. I have problems with Trump, but let me tell you something. He didn't destabilize nations. He brought economic stability to this country. The situation in the Middle East was much more secure. He was getting Muslim countries to set up agreements with Israel so that Israel was not being considered the place that they needed to go after. He was creating stability. He even, for as little stability as you can get out of what's North Africa or North Korea, at least North Korea knew that they were being paid attention to and they needed to shut the heck up. We had some we had a little bit better stability. Okay, so with his rhetoric, he sounded like a madman, which caused people like Putin and Z over in China to realize that they didn't need to act up. Seriously, if you've got a person in a country like the U.S. that seems to be a little unhinged at moments, you don't want to set this person off. Not realizing that you had somebody in charge of the Defense Department by the name of Mattis, who, while yes, his nickname is Mad Dog, he isn't a mad dog. He actually had a lot of brains in his head. So, under Biden, we left Afghanistan in the worst way possible. I mean, seriously, there was 10 million different ways we could have left Afghanistan that would not have left both military equipment and dead bodies behind. We could have done that. We were needing to leave the country. I will admit to that. I had been saying that for a while, but we were still there. We were fighting. It is not fiction what was in that show Navy SEALs, the David Boreanaz show, the that where one of the episodes I saw one of the episodes where David Boreanaz character, the lead actor in the show, had to go after a terrorist. Well, it turned out that said terrorist was the son of somebody that he had killed before. So it was becoming a generational conflict. We don't need to be in generational conflicts. We do not need to be in a country so long that the child of somebody that we kill because we consider them a terrorist, that they become a terrorist themselves and we're still fighting. But we also don't need to be in a country that has destabilized itself because the military didn't want to lose power, and we don't have a status of forces agreement with them. We don't need to be in that country. We need to get our stuff, pack it up, get back to the U.S., and let them decide what they're going to do. If they don't want us there, then fine. We don't need to be there. Don't tell me it's complicated. Don't tell me that it's necessary for us to be there. It isn't necessary for us to be there. We didn't need to be there in the first place. We do not need to be interfering with all these countries in Africa. I'm well aware of all the resources that are in the African countries. And I'm well aware that China is doing its best to get all of these resources. Okay, we don't need to set up new banana republics. We have ways of making sure that we can get those resources without constantly having U.S. troops in harm's way in environments that may seem stable, but underneath are so unstable that it reminds me of our shifting issues in this country. We can get the resources under more intelligent ways. But we've got Biden having 1,100 troops in harm's way if something further destabilizes there. Ooh, they haven't made a formal request for us to leave. And if they make the formal request, they're going to go, okay, you need to be out of here tomorrow. And it really will be that kind of way. They will tell you you need to be gone tomorrow. Which means while we're working on getting out of there, we're going to probably leave stuff behind that we don't want to leave behind. Sam Adams, George Washington, all of so many of our founding fathers said that we don't need to get involved with all that's going on in the world because it ain't necessary. Since World War II, we have gotten ourselves involved in so many ways and we have caused so much chaos because we thought we were right when we were wrong. And you can't tell me that we are right in this situation. Uranium, a country that is just got this much of this material. Ooh, they've got oil, the uranium. Too many people, I will guarantee you that if this gets out of hand, that people will focus on oil and won't focus on the uranium. Because everybody seems to have a love affair for oil. But oil's just been discovered. Yes, it's untapped. Yes, we could use that oil. But that uranium. Russia, we have allowed, I can guarantee you, that we have screwed up the situation, and this is now going to be a situation in which Russia controls even more of the uranium in this world. They control 40-something% of refinement in the world. We barely have any refinement in this country. The U.S. government controlled refinement for so long that they created an environment inside of this country that caused us to not be able to refine our own uranium outside of what we're refining for our nuclear weapons and for our military. So we're having to rely on foreign companies to refine our uranium. Now we've got some uranium refinement capability now, but we're still relying on foreign companies to refine our uranium. We've got plenty of uranium in this country, but we're allowing foreign companies to mine our uranium. It's just been recently that American companies have started becoming the leader in uranium mining in the United States. And we've got environmental groups that are kicking up protests. Well, how much you want to bet that if you were to go to Niger, that what these poor folks are going through, there ain't any environmental standards going on in that country. I can guarantee you the French don't care about them. Don't tell me that we care about them. I mean, the one time that you have somebody that makes real, one of the few people that's made real help was a YouTube person, and he was attacked for being having a white savior complex, when this is what this guy does. We don't care about them as a country. We care about the uranium. We care about who we can blow up. But we don't care about that country. If they're under, if this administration is under the assumption that we can scare them back to allowing us to do everything that we were doing. I hate to tell them, but they've now got in the Russians. Ooh, it's the Russian Merc group. This is a prelude. If something goes wrong with Wagner, Putin will send in Russian troops. This is walking a fine line between insanity and complete and total chaos. There is no other direction. There is no sanity to be had here unless we leave. Let them do whatever they're going to do. Work with them diplomatically. Our troops being there is destabilizing that situation that's already unstable. I don't know what you call it when you destabilize an already unstable situation. What little sanity is there, our U.S. troops being there, our boots on the ground ain't doing that much good. The uranium that is there is still for sale on the market. If we treat them like the valid government they are, there is in no way, shape, or form. This was almost a year ago that the coup happened. They ain't getting Bazoum back in power anytime soon. If you work with the current government and get them to calm down and to get, it's going to take years before you can get democratic elections in that country again. It's going to take years. But if you work with them and get them convinced to calm down, you might start seeing a better situation in that country. But it ain't going to get better if something happens, if somebody makes a misstep, and we start shooting there. Because if we start shooting, that's 1,100 troops that are going to start firing. Hope to God that whoever's in charge in that country of our troops, who's in charge of our troops in that country, that they're level-headed enough to know what to do. But this needs to end. We need to pull our troops out. We need to get out of this country, and we need to quit being interfering where we don't need to be interfering. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a good weekend. Um, we have what looks to be a good weekend coming up. It looks to be a little bit chillier than normal. I haven't decided if I'm going to broadcast tomorrow. I like taking Saturday nights off on occasion. But I will talk to y'all later. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Have a good day.